Welcome back. If you joined us for part one, I'm so glad you're here for part two. And if you're just jumping in, you may want to go back and start there. Either way, let's dive in.
I use something called the Yuka app. I don't know if any of your listeners have this Yuka Yuka app. You should just download it right now. And when you go to the grocery store, it's a QR. The barcodes. You just scan the barcodes, and you will be shocked. Even when you go into a health food store, like you go into Sprouts, you go into Whole Foods, just go down the aisle and find out how many of those packaged products actually get a 20 or less out of 100 rating and actually have carcinogens in them. Like I had a creamer that I was putting in when I was drinking coffee, which now I like, I've discovered I don't really like coffee. I actually like matcha a whole lot better. But yeah, I look at the ingredients and it's got 3 red flags on it. And I look at it, it's got 2 known carcinogens, one that actually causes breast cancer. And I'm like,
In
why
your
is it?
coffee creamer. I
Why
mean,
is
okay,
it?
first of all, I'm going to get this Yucca app. Okay, I've never heard of it, but I'm downloading it immediately.
You'll never go.
And this is coming from somebody that doesn't like a bunch of apps. So, yay,
Yes,
I
you
love
did.
this.
It's
But I think, just a very famous lotion just came out that is causing cancer. That there's so many things. I feel like we turn left, we turn right. There's things causing cancer, but I love this idea of this app where you can actually scan something and find out. Like, I just think we have to be more aware because in the age of AI and the age of fast food and the age of all of these things, we just need to be more aware about what we're putting in our bodies, whether that's drinking more water or whether that's what we're buying at the grocery store. Even like you said, even at a Sprouts, you'd probably be shocked at half the stuff you're finding there.
Well, and even like your fruits and vegetables, there's, those little numbers that are on the fruits and vegetables. Some of them are like 3064 or 4052. The ones that start with a 9 are the best ones that you can buy. It means that they haven't used all of the spray and the Roundup and everything else. You have one that starts with a 3, put it back down. Your best place to get your fruits and vegetables, of course, is always at a farmer's market, which sometimes is hard depending upon where you live. But I think you're right, Carrie, is like the thing we need to be is a little bit more vigilant and realize that the Food and Drug Administration are in cahoots with one another, and they should not be in the same sentence, because essentially what they're doing is figuring out how to modify our foods to make us more addicted to those foods and put bad things, it seems, in those foods so that we need their medicine. So this whole environment that we're living in, if you're not doing the due diligence and realizing that anything in a box you should put back on the shelf, uh, you need to eat more water-filled foods, more fruits, more vegetables, dark leafy greens, purple potatoes, things that actually have some nutrient in them for you. And I just think that we're against odds, especially if you have kids, because we kind of train kids into the shiny objects of the McDonald's world, and we cause the problem. But I don't even think that the McDonald's of today was the McDonald's that we were eating, and if it was, that's probably why we were all bloated and fat in the 80s. I don't know, but I mean, I would never go in one of those places anymore, not for decades.
Yeah, I definitely think it's different now than whatever it was before. Not that it was great then, but I definitely think our food has changed so much that it really just is important for us to be diligent about it. You mentioned something earlier about trauma, and I think oftentimes we think that traumatic emotional experience is over, like when the thing happens and it's done, that it doesn't affect us anymore. But do emotional stress and unresolved emotional experiences show up physically in the body?
I just think that they show up, they manifest themselves over and over again. I do think so, because the body doesn't separate emotions from physical stress, whether it was an emotional trauma or a physical trauma. Things that tend to happen in the past, we imprint in our brain. There's a part of our brain that we actually store these memories. And it could be as much as a smell that reminds you of something good or bad. Like sometimes I smell, chocolate chip cookies and I'm instantly like, oh, grandma, like whatever it is. But it could also be the sound of someone's voice. It could be the way that you're touched, or some circumstance that you're in. And what we don't often realize is that we're actually not in the present moment, that our body is actually already being triggered because it's a memory of something in the past. It's the remembered past coming into the sensory presence. And the thing that's really perplexing about the brain, I mean, it is the most complex database of all times, is our brain, but our brain actually doesn't really know the difference between the past, the present, or the future. So sometimes we're actually living in a past memory and we don't even know that that's happening. It's just until you awaken to it. And I'm just going to give a personal example. I remember once I'm in my 20s and I walked into my boss's office with my hands clenched, saying to Kurt, I want a raise, I do really great work, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like this. And he goes, "You look like you're ready to box me." And I was like,
He's like, fine, have the raise.
yeah, like why am I? And I thought, oh, because anytime I went down into the basement to ask my father for something, the answer 100% of the time was always no. It wouldn't even matter what it was just always no. So I'm walking into my boss's office with this past memory of the fact that a man's going to say no when I want something that I deserve. And there it is. But once I caught that and I thought, oh my God, my father's not even here anymore and he's still controlling my behavior. I'm going to stop that right now. I'm never going to walk in with my fist clenched ever again. But those are things that we need to awaken to. Sometimes we marry one of our parents, right? Like they say you marry your mother or your father to create the familial, which is the root for family. Familial is familiar. And they are both from the same Latin root. So we tend to grasp over things. But is it stored in our bodies or in our mind? I think it's stored in us. I think that trauma can be stored in us. You always know when, if your friend walked in with her shoulders up and her body rounded, you wouldn't be like, wow, you look like you're ready to have a party.
Take on the day.
Yeah, you'd be like, are you okay? Give
Right.
me
What's
a
going on?
Yeah, like you'd right away pick it up. So our emotions actually, we create posture. So our behavior can oftentimes manifest itself as physical stress. It can cause all sorts of things. So when I woke up with my foot hurting me, I think that the root of that was that my father was dying and he had yet to be diagnosed, but literally a year to the point when my foot started to hurt me, he died. And that, I
Mm.
think, was some energetic aspect of my body, knowing that this very powerful person in my life was going and I was going to be uprooted from the foundation that I had built myself on. And I really, to this day, think that that was the root of my first real chronic pain that was undiagnosable. I had CAT scans, I had MRIs, I had all sorts of things that they tested me. They wanted to give me a blood test. They thought it might be lupus. I mean, it was just like, that caused stress for me.
Yeah.
But I do believe that our bodies and our minds are one thing. I think we've tried to create an idea, a narrative that we're separate. Like again, when my friends say, "Oh, my nervous system can't regulate," or my fascia is all wound up, and I'm like, "Is it, or is it in your mind? Maybe it's you. Maybe you're wound up. Maybe you can't regulate. How about we just assume you're homogenous?" And I also want to say that back in the 1500s, when actually earlier than that, when they were finally doing cadaver dissections, they had convinced the church that once the body was gone, that the spirit and the mind had left the form, and that the form was just this vessel. And then that's how they got to do dissections, was to say that the mind and the body were separate. And maybe your spirit is different than the body. Like I definitely think we're a spirit occupying a body and utilizing a mind to have a human experience, but I don't think that we're separate. So again, if you've ever had your stomach drop when you had bad news, or you felt you couldn't breathe when you had grief, or you had butterflies in your stomach when you were first in love, these are somatic experiences that are from your mind and from your memories and from your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs, and they manifest themselves as physical experiences.
Well, and you said just a minute ago, you said something about nervous system regulation. So, what does that actually mean in real life for someone listening?
Sure. So we have just like all things in anatomy, we've cut up anatomy into parts. And so the nervous system, you have your central nervous system, your brain and your spinal cord. You have the peripheral nervous system, which are the sensory nerves that live in fascia. But then we have underneath that sensory area is your autonomic nervous system. So stress and repair are two sides, again, of a seesaw: sympathetic, parasympathetic, but there's actually a third one called enteric, and the enteric nervous system is the gut regulator. So these regulators are constantly ebbing and flowing. And with stress, the problem with stress more than anything is that we're constantly inundated with it. The second we wake up in the morning, we've got our phone in our hand seeing if anybody had messaged us, or we check our Instagram page or our emails. So the second that you're waking up, you're on. You have kids, the first thing you're thinking about is them. You have a pet, you've got to go walk the dog. So right away, what's happening is we're not maintaining our conscious awareness of ourselves, and we're outside of ourselves fixing the world and doing things out here. And that takes the stress level up from the second that you're awake. And the only time where the repair processes occur is at night when you fall asleep. But anybody knows if you're in pain or you are too stressed out, at night when you finally try to wind down, you can't. And then you try to fall asleep and you can't fall asleep. And then you're waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And if you're waking up a couple of times at night, even once, that right there is a neurological dysregulation. Your nervous system can't keep you in a deep state of repair, because deep sleep is where you get the repair of your cells, of your nervous system, of your glial cells go and wash out your brain, and your fascia is cleansing and clearing out things. Your lymphatic system is junk dumping the waste out of your body from the day. So if you're not getting asleep at the same time, you're not staying asleep, you're waking up multiple times, that right there should be a red flag that your nervous system is dysregulated. And that nervous system regulation can then trigger an effect in your mind where you start feeling stressed out, like you just can't manage things. You snap at your kids. Why do you have to do that all the time? Or you're driving down the road and you're screaming at the person in front of you like anybody's hearing you anyway. But all of these are triggering the emotional dysregulation that occurs because we aren't helping that parasympathetic or rest and repair regulator in the day come back to balance. And having it come back to balance is not that hard. But if you're always living in the tip scale, the next thing that happens is the enteric nervous system, which is the gut regulator, gets terribly out of whack. And now again, you're bloated, you have weight gain for no reason, your hormonal and your metabolic systems start to get all kind of haywire, and your immune regulation slows down. So you have a higher tendency towards illness, towards pain. And again, you kind of see it in your skin. Your skin looks old. You look a little worn out. So all of those things are related. Yeah.
Well, speaking of old, your work is connected to longevity and helping people age with more resilience and mobility. So what do you think we've been missing, or that we've misunderstood about aging, specifically for women? I mean, obviously we've missed the boat on a lot of stuff, but what do you think we've misunderstood specifically for women?
Oh, I mean, I think again that we have to seek outside of ourselves something that's really necessary inside our bodies. And I think that there's just, I think what we've been missing maybe is consistency rather than intensity. That your fascia and your nervous system and your lymphatic system and all these sub aspects of your body need your physical attention. So whether it's waking up in the morning and thinking about what great things you're going to do today, or journaling, or just sitting and looking, at nature, hugging a tree, standing in the grass, taking 10 slow breaths and just watching your thoughts come into your mind and not reacting to them and just go, oh, there's another thought. And then just keep focusing on breathing. I think that those are some of the things maybe we're missing, is just consistency, and giving our bodies small, repeatable inputs. Because if you really want to age well, you don't need to overhaul your whole life. You don't need to give your body predictable signals of safety or anything like that. You really need to give your body a sense of nurturing, right? That it's not just not taking risks in your life. That way you're safe. It's more that you're reminding yourself that you're safe, you've got this. Be around good people. I think talking things through is really important. But on the whole, I think that it's consistent, healthy inputs more often rather than realizing that when it turns 1 o'clock, some of my friends call that wine o'clock because we caffeine ourselves up, we wind down. It's early enough to go to happy hour, isn't it? Or whatever it is, that we actually have poor habits that we could probably recognize that we have, and every once in a while go out with your girlfriends and don't have the drink and just have a club soda cranberry and lime or something like that. You know, that we have this peer pressure that lives there in going out, that we want to loosen up and get wild or whatever, but really your body would much prefer that you actually went inward and did something valuable for your body in a day.
Well, yeah, now listen, I love a good cocktail.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that I, have been trying to drink water first thing in the morning and have at least 8 ounces before I have any coffee. And I do the squats randomly during the day if I'm at my desk all day. So what are there a couple um things that you recommend that are really easy, that aren't like, hey, like I said, go to CrossFit for 3 hours, like that aren't like the CrossFit for 3 hours, but that are maybe like easy hacks that can really improve someone's life or longevity?
I just think getting up and moving more often in a day. Like, what would happen if you woke up and the first thing you did was walk out your door and walk for 10 minutes? Just 10 minutes, just walk for 10 minutes and then came back and then got yourself ready. And when people say, oh yeah, but I walk to work, and I'm like, that's different because you're walking to somewhere. And what I
Hmm.
just want you to do is just walk for no reason except for movement. I just want you to walk, and I want you to look at the trees, and I want you to go, God, how beautiful of a day is it? I'm so lucky to be alive, right? So I think movement in general is really important. I mean, what you said, Carrie, like what if you just stood up and did 10 squats, or get down on the floor and then get back up and then go back down and on the floor and then stand back up again, and do that 5 times. Just go all the way down to the floor and all the way up, because I would tell you that that's a big thing that happens when you get older. Is people, they can get on the floor, but they're like, I've fallen and I can't get up.
There's literally a commercial.
Yeah, and so I just think that the stiffness, the pain, and the loss of mobility that people think is inevitable is not, and most of what people call aging is actually fascia that's lost its supportive qualities. It's an understimulated sensory system, chronic stress patterns that accumulate over decades, right? And again, I just think women have been told to shrink, quiet down, or tolerate discomfort, but women's bodies are really incredibly adaptable, and when it's given the right input, I think aging well is less about adding more effort, and it's more about restoring the systems that keep you fluid and stable and connected.
Well, and I like that idea of movement, just we especially in the States, not necessarily as much in Europe, but especially in the States, we are in our offices at our desk. We aren't moving as much. And so anytime you can squeeze that into your day, I think it's helpful and it makes a difference. And as you've said, it obviously makes a difference in your longevity, because it's like keep moving, keep moving. It's like the second that we stop moving, that's when the problems start rolling in. But I do want to get to the melt method and what you've been building and your podcast and your instructor network and your book. So tell us all the things. And just on a side note, for anybody listening, you don't have to madly write this down. I am going to put the Yuka app in the notes. I'm also going to be putting all of Sue's information in the show notes so you can easily find it again. But tell us all about what you're doing, where we can find you. Give us the skinny on the skinny.
So I started Melt as a self-care technique that I was giving my clients as homework back in the late 90s. People would come to see me in pain and they'd walk out and they'd feel great, but then like a week later they'd be coming back to me because their environment was beating out that 1 hour that I had with them. But I said to them, if I can make the change, I can teach you things that simulate manual therapeutic intervention so that you can sustain these changes and stop coming back to me and wasting your money when you could actually do this to yourself. So Melt is a simple self-care technique. It is a methodology. It's actually a whole self-care system. We use soft tools. And again, we simulate manual therapeutic techniques. The hand and foot therapy can help alleviate neck and low back pain. The roller techniques require that you get down onto the floor and you're basically doing self-manual therapy interventions, breath work entrainment, gentle fascial techniques, some neurological techniques, just to help these aspects of your body that most of us just don't know anything about. We have this new Fascia hydrator, which is a low frequency vibration device, and it's just I actually have that here, so you guys who are watching.
Yes, I love show and tell. So
this is kind of like a 1.5-inch kind of a stick with a textured side, a smooth side, and 2 edges, a textured handle, and we also use the tip head. And we basically simulate a lot of what we do with the roller using a device. So you can actually do it while you're at your desk at work. You don't need to get down onto the floor. It's kind of quick changes you can make. We also incorporate lymphatic drainage protocols into this. And we have a team of Malta instructors. I've trained over 3,000 instructors. They are in 29 countries all around the world. And you can find them on the website. They teach live classes. They teach on Zoom. We have a streaming platform called Melt on Demand, which has, I don't even know, almost 1,000 videos that are in the categories of pain, performance, and lifestyle. So if you're sitting at your desk, you could watch the desk sentence collection, or if you're a runner, there's a running collection, or a back pain collection, a Pilates collection. It just depends upon why you're doing it. If you're playing a sport, pickleball, tennis, golf, something like that. We have collections for anything, both to mitigate chronic joint problems that tend to happen because of this whole fascial discontinuity, but also ways to strengthen your body outside of just doing traditional exercises. So more akin to neurological stabilization techniques, ways to rehydrate fascia and have your nervous system and that sensory motor control come back up online. So we just have different methodologies, different techniques that we teach people, and the videos range anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour, depending upon how much time you have or what you want to focus on. And then I also have my podcast that you mentioned, Anatomical Gangster. And I love interviewing people who are breaking down complicated topics, whether it's about hormones or fascia or environmental, like, new types of farming techniques, or the water that you're drinking, fitness that's new, any kind of progressive new fitness protocols. I just talk to really smart people who can break stuff down to make you want to care for your life and for the human experience, and to embrace it, rather than thinking that your life is a death sentence. That, it's true. It doesn't matter what you biohack. It's a scientific fact. Everybody that you know and love, including yourself, isn't going to get out of this alive. You agreed to that before you came into form. So I think it's a blessing. And I think that if we can age well, and what I mean by that is with resilience and vibrancy, I don't think we should be afraid of it. And I think the good news is that we're alive in 2026, and there's so many more things out there that weren't out there when my mom was my age, or my grandmother was my age. But I just think, people who say you're going to biohack, and they're like, oh, you're going to live until 115. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to get an extra 10, 15 years out of it. Like, I probably am going to get that anyway. So tell me something that, I don't think you're going to eat a pill or take a shot or get a facelift and actually think you're going to age better. I think it really starts with getting in your body, because if you want to stay resilient, you got to go in your body to get out of all of the craziness that's out there.
Yeah. And what is your website? What is the actual website?
MELT method, meltmethod.com. And I also have the SueHitzmann.com website with 2 N's at the end of my name. That second N always gets lost for people. But I also have stuff that, other products that I like, and things that have helped me that I find fascinating. So I'm always looking to share ideas that I've discovered and try to get that out to people, like in my free time, which is to say that I don't really have.
Which you must have a ton of. Well, again, those will It'll all
Yeah.
be in the show notes, so you don't have to have it memorized, but that at least we've got to go check out the Melt Method and check it out. You've got to see, again, if you're not watching, if you're only listening, she had this mechanism that now I want to go watch the Melt Method and see how are we using this? What are we doing with this? And how do we make this help us feel better, look better? Okay, so fun question. I find this both fascinating and slightly terrifying. But you spent 20 years doing human cadaver dissection as part of your fascia research, which, okay. I did love the show 6 Feet Under, but anyway, what has studying the human body that intimately taught you about life or about being human?
Oh, I mean, so much. I mean, it really strips away every illusion we have about separation. When you open up a unfixed cadaver, meaning that there's no embalming, that someone has passed away, their form is left, they put them in a freezer, and then you get to dissect them, and you get to see how interconnected everything is. You kind of see how much we hold and how much we adapt and how much we endure. But also, I think that it really makes you realize how much goodness must have happened. I think it's taught me reverence, it's taught me humility, it's taught me that the body is not a machine. It's a living, fluid, responsive system that tells the story of a whole person's life. So I think, I think it's really taught me that the human experience is extremely precious and that our form is our vessel. And the more we take care of it, the better the journey is.
Awesome. Well, okay, I've got one more question, and I ask this of all of the ladies I have on the podcast. It's not that serious. We have a series called our WHIP series, which stands for Women in Power. But power can mean many things to many people. So when you hear the phrase Women in Power or WHIP, what does being a WHIP actually mean to you?
I think maybe it's being willing to evolve. It means honoring your strength without pretending you don't have edges. It means that you're staying curious and connected and staying in conversation with your own body. Like, I don't think power is perfection, and presence isn't something, that is forced for you. I mean, presence is something we practice. It's not something you achieve. So I think power in general is that you're connected to your life, that you're really in your own state of agency and you become a conscious agent in a physical form. I think that's power to me, is that you don't let your emotions get the better of you, and you can endure by being smart and by being caring and by being compassionate. I think that's a woman in power.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us, Sue. It's been awesome talking with you. I'm so excited to check out this app. I'm so excited to check out the Melt Method. I am so excited for all of the INTS folks to see what you're doing, and I'm so happy that we could have you on to share you with our little INTS universe. Go to the website, get a shirt, get a mug, find Sue's Melt Method, and be good to each other. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Sue. That's a wrap on today's episode of Carrie, It's Not That Serious. If this conversation resonated, subscribe and share it with a WHIP, a woman in power in your life. You can find more conversations, more community, and all the fun INTS merch you love at itsnotthatserious.com. We're building something meaningful here, and I'm so glad you're a part of it. Until next time, remember, it's not that serious.